Waitress surprises with French billionaire's incredible note and jet ticket exposed. Emma wiped the counter clean, focusing on the rhythmic comfort of pouring coffee at the quaint little diner nestled in Pennsylvania. It was just another bustling lunchtime, the clatter of plates and the murmur of chatter settling into a comfortable background noise. Her heart, however, yearned for something more. The endless cycle of breakfast specials and greasy burgers filled her days, offering little respite from the worries gnawing in her stomach. Years of responsibility had hardened her spirit of fierce determination to support her grandmother's medical needs, yet the dream of a vibrant life beyond this diner hovered just out of reach. The diner door swung open, and in walked James, an imposing figure dressed in a tailored suit that seemed to scream superiority. He glanced around, his disdain palpable, as he surveyed the rustic decor. "I'll have the cocoa vin," he declared, dismissing the charm of her world. Emma's heart sank. She wrestled with the juxtaposition. How could someone so seemingly powerful feel so distant from the love and warmth embodied in the diner? When she stumbled, the plate slipped from her grasp and crashed to the floor, its contents splattering across the tiles. "Are you serious?" he barked, red-hot anger radiating from his every pore. Each word cut deeper than the last, the humiliation settled like a lead weight in her chest. Emma's hands trembled, but instead of anger, she felt a wave of empathy wash over her. What lay beneath his arrogance? Loneliness, perhaps? "I'm so sorry," she breathed, her voice barely breaking through the din. His fury seemed to pause, just for a moment. It was her kindness that unsettled him, reflective of a life layered in expectations he struggled to meet. When he left, Emma's heart thudded against her ribs. A crumpled ticket slipped from his jacket pocket, slipping through her fingers as he exited. The note left behind, a small scrap of paper, felt heavier than it should have. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." Emma's hands trembled as she tucked the ticket in her apron pocket, feelings of uncertainty swirling within her like a storm. A ticket to Paris. For a fleeting moment, she envisioned it: cobblestone streets, laughter, freedom. But the vision collided painfully with reality. Her grandmother's face flickered in her mind, so fragile and full of love. How could she chase dreams when loyalty to her family anchored her here? Days passed, yet the ticket remained. Anxiety chewed at her resolve. Should she leap for aspirations that felt distant? Or stay tethered to obligation, a solid rock in a sprawling sea of uncertainty? The internal conflict burdened her, a desperate need for connection tethered tightly against the pulling weight of familial duty. Feeling a swell of determination, Emma walked into the diner one day, setting her jaw. James was back, and this time she wouldn't hide. "I need to talk to you," she insisted, her voice steady despite her racing pulse. The air crackled with potential as their eyes locked. It was more than a conversation, it was an unveiling, a deep confrontation with each other's narratives. She spoke passionately about the dignity of every person, of the worth that exceeded their societal roles. As they stood on the precipice of revelation, vulnerable and raw, life's expectation collided fully with their truths. The stakes of ambition and obligation hung thick in the air, drawing the line sharper, a fork in their paths awaiting resolution. Would she rise to claim her dignity? Would he truly see her, tearing down the walls of assumption? In that electric moment, everything felt suspended, an unresolved tension that begged for resolution, leaving the door wide open to their entwined fates. Emma felt her heart race as she locked eyes with James, a mixture of defiance and vulnerability bubbling within her. It was a risk, this confrontation, yet it felt like the only path left before her, a choice shaped by both desperation and hope. She wasn't just a waitress in a small diner, she was a woman with dreams that clashed fiercely against the fabric of her responsibilities. "Why do you come here?" Emma asked, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife. James started, his carefully composed facade cracking just slightly. The confidence that had accompanied him through these doors appeared to waver. "Honestly?" He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, the vulnerability of the moment laying bare cracks in his distant persona. "It's a business lunch that somehow turned into this." "This?" Emma echoed, gesturing around the diner filled with laughter and warmth, where every soul was united by simple pleasures. His eyes flickered, and for a moment, she saw the man beneath the sharp exterior, the one who bore a weight heavier than his finely tailored suit could imply. "You have no idea what it's like," he replied, almost too softly. This was a man used to armor, she realized, and yet here he was, half exposed before her. "Then help me understand," she urged, leaning in closer. Fear threatened to steal her voice, but she pressed on. "We're all more than where we come from or what we do. Don't you get tired of playing a part?" A silence fell between them, not filled with the clamor of the diner but charged with something unspoken, an impulse to forge ahead or retreat. Emma's vulnerability was a soft illumination in the hardness of his world. In that moment, their conversation transcended the boundaries of their respective duties. It became a sanctuary for honesty. "I'm lost," he admitted, eyes searching hers as if she might be able to guide him. "I've always followed the path laid out for me, achievements, accolades, the lifestyle. But it all feels empty." His confession hit Emma hard, resonating with the doubts she harbored about her own life. "Maybe we're all just refining our paths," she said, taking a breath. "What lies beneath doesn't disappear, no matter how forbidding the facade." James's gaze held hers, each moment stretching into an eternity where both could feel the clash of their divergent lives. The ticket crumpled in her pocket felt heavier than ever. It was a ticket not just to Paris, but also to an existence filled with potential. "You have a choice," she continued, the conviction in her voice growing stronger. "You can decide who you want to be beyond all this." The realization flowed through her, the truth that confrontation brought forth was not merely about the two of them, but reflected the very essence of their choices. And then, the atmosphere shifted. Uncertainty pooled in the air, thickening with the implications of their words. For Emma, the burgeoning clarity was silenced by an unsettling thought: if she continued to lean into this possibility with James, would she lose herself in the unraveling of dreams that kept her anchored here? "The time has come to face our truths," Emma thought, her resolve hardening. With a deep breath, she met his gaze directly. "How do you want to shape your future?" Before he could speak, the diner door burst open, jolting them from the cocoon of their conversation. A gruff voice called out, announcing the arrival of a local businessman, mingling uncertainty with the mundane. The moment was abruptly interrupted, a reminder that life doesn't pause for personal revelations. But now Emma felt different. A burgeoning determination surged within her. She had found her voice, had learned that confrontation could lead to clarity. "We'll continue this," James seemed to say quietly, the ambiguity of both their paths suspended in the air. What emerged from this would set them both on trajectories they couldn't yet fathom. As Emma returned to serving, the unease transformed into a quiet strength. The diner buzzed around her, but her daring spirit now navigated an unpredictable current. Would she truly claim the life she had dreamt of, despite the impending chaos? In that stillness, amid the chatter of coffee and conversations, Emma understood her heart was on the cusp of unknown territories, drawing her ever closer to a decision that would shape her destiny. What would she uncover about herself if she dared to embrace both her dreams and the opportunity before her? In the depth of her mind, the question pulsed with urgency: was she ready to cross that threshold? The whirlwind of energy in the diner wrapped around Emma like a familiar blanket, yet she'd never felt so exposed. Each plate she served carried with it more than just food. It was a commitment to her dreams, both now and in the potential future. As she moved among her tables, her usual gestures transformed. She navigated through the ebb and flow of the diner with an undercurrent of newfound resolve. What if I didn't just serve? A thought flickered and danced in her mind. Soon, she found herself exchanging smiles with regulars, piecing together moments of connection that felt deeper than superficial small talk. There was a glint in the eyes of the elderly couple who always sat by the window. Today, she decided to linger, her curiosity boldening, as she chatted with them about their travel adventures. "Your turn will come, dear," the woman said, patting her hand gently. There was wisdom in her gaze, an understanding of Emma's silent battle within. This simple interaction kindled something inside Emma, igniting questions she hadn't fully examined. In those moments, the distractions of life, the clattering dishes, steady conversations faded into the background. She was anchored in the here and now, yet visions of possibility painted her thoughts. Is it too late to ask for more? The voice in her head persisted. Every conversation with James echoed in the corners of her mind, interwoven with the inspiration thrumming through her veins. The clamor of the diner suddenly felt tiny in comparison to her internal dialogue. While Emma served meals and refilled cups, fragments of their conversation replayed vulnerabilities and choices that might intertwine their fates. The question of making a choice loomed larger with each passing moment. That evening, after the final customer left, Emma took a moment alone behind the counter. The diner was quiet now and shadows stretched long, both eerie and serene. She closed her eyes, relishing the weight of the potential in her pocket, the ticket. She knew it didn't just represent travel, it embodied freedom, choice, and a vibrant future that seemed just within reach. But would she have the courage to claim it? Suddenly, the bell above the door chimed. Emma's heart skipped as she turned to see James stepping back into the diner. For a fleeting second, doubts coiled in her stomach. What if their earlier honesty was the extent of their connection? And yet, excitement surged at the thought of deepening their conversation. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward the newly available corner table, a contrast to the crowded diner moments earlier. Emma nodded, her pulse quickening. He joined her in a quiet space, drafting an unspoken promise that this time, they would delve deeper. Without preamble, he spoke. "I thought about what we discussed earlier. About choices. What have you decided?" She probed, her heart pounding. His eyes held hers with intensity that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. "I've realized that the only true luxury is authenticity. I want to explore that. But I can't do it alone." Emma met his gaze steadily, feeling pieces of herself align in that brief moment. "Then let us explore together." Just then, the fluorescent lights flickered in a way that felt almost symbolic, echoing the fragility of the moment. "But what does that mean?" she asked, a question spilling out that felt larger than either of them. "Tonight, let us make this a beginning," he replied softly, running a hand through his hair again, instinctually. "I want you to come with me to Paris." Her breath caught, swirling between dread and excitement as her mind raced. This was both an invitation and a challenge, and all at once, the weight of her next steps loomed over her. Can I really step into the unknown? She wondered urgently. Can I trust him and myself enough to take that leap? In that instant, everything hinged on her response. What lay ahead could change everything she knew about herself, both her fears and her aspirations. Would she say yes, or would she pull back into the echo of her past, safe yet unfulfilled? Emma knew she was at the precipice of something monumental, but before she could voice her choice, the bell jingled once more, and a new figure stepped inside. An unfamiliar presence turned her heart into a flutter of uncertainty. What did it mean for her future choices? Maybe it's not just about stepping into a different world, she thought, heart racing. Maybe it's about facing who I truly am beneath it all. And as the door swung closed behind the newcomer, a chill raced through the diner. Everything was about to shift once again. Emma's heart raced as the newcomer stepped into the diner, shaking off raindrops that clung to their coat. The moment seemed to stretch, suspended in uncertainty, as their gaze swept the room. A feeling of vulnerability washed over her, coupled with an instinctive curiosity about how this person would alter the dynamics of her already tumultuous night. The stranger settled at a table across from where Emma stood, glancing up with an inquisitive look. She couldn't help but wonder who they might be. The air was thick with anticipation, mirroring the inner storm brewing inside her. The unfamiliar presence sparked questions, not just about this person but also about her own path. Deep down, she knew she faced a crucial moment. It wasn't just about accepting James's invitation or staying behind, it was about carving her own narrative going forward. The idea of breaking free from her confines felt intoxicating, yet the weight of the ordinary clung heavily to her. Seizing a moment to breathe, she turned back to James, who had leaned back in his chair, waiting patiently. Instead of fleeting silence, she opted for honesty. "What if I said no? What does that mean for us?" James's brow furrowed slightly, tension flickering across his features. "It means we'll go our separate ways, but I'll respect your decision. However, I hope you see life as more than routines," he replied earnestly, his words struck like a thunderclap in her mind. She had felt trapped, ensnared in a loop of daily monotony that came to define her existence. Intrigued by the possibility of more, she pressed further. "But can I really embrace a completely new life? What if the leap leads to disaster?" He held her gaze steadily, his sincerity evident. "It's about growth, Emma. You won't know until you try. And honestly, the real disaster is letting opportunities slip away without even trying." His encouragement struck a chord deep within her, radiating with a warmth that countered the chill from the new arrival. She took a moment, weighing the truth of his words against her fears. The ticket in her pocket felt heavier than ever. It was a commitment, but to what possibility or anxiety? Deciding she needed clarity, she approached the stranger's table, needing to break the tension coiling within her. "Hi, can I get you something?" The words felt grounded, a step outside her whirlwind of thoughts. The newcomer, a woman with striking blue eyes, flashed a smile that seemed to illuminate her somber mood. "I'll just have a coffee, thank you. And maybe a bit of wisdom while we're at it." Emma chuckled, the sound surprising even herself. "Not sure about the wisdom part, but I can definitely pour you some coffee." As she served, something in the woman's energy was infectious. Emma felt a thread of inspiration weave its way through their interaction. "I'm Emma, by the way," she said, offering her name without hesitation. "Nice to meet you, Emma." "I'm Sophia," the woman replied, her voice carrying an intriguing accent. "Tell me, do you believe in serendipity?" Emma paused at the question. I've never really thought about it like that." "I guess," she hesitated, glancing back at James, who watched them intently. "Things have to line up for it to happen, right?" Sophia scoffed lightly. "Or they just need a nudge in the right direction." Emma felt that nudge in her heart. The conversation with Sophia opened a door to something deeper within herself, igniting the questions she secretly pondered. What if she was meant for more, not just as a waitress, but as someone who could truly engage with life's possibilities? With newfound determination, she turned back to James. "I need time to think, but I want to explore what you've offered. I want to embrace the unknown." A spark of hope ignited in his eyes, but before he could respond, Sophia interjected. "Exploration means pushing limits, doesn't it?" "What are your limits, Emma?" The inquiry echoed in the dark corners of her mind, magnifying existing doubts while challenging her to dig deeper. Was this strange woman nudging her toward reevaluation? Did she have the right to challenge herself and redefine her boundaries? The diner thrummed with a quiet intensity, holding its breath as Emma stood on the precipice of her own life. She felt the tension rise, pulling her in two different directions, staying in safety or leaping into the unknown. And as the sparks of confrontation with herself ignited, Emma realized she was at a breaking point. Would she fully embrace this new journey, or would she let it slip through her fingers like so many moments before? The bell above the door jingled once more, a reminder that change was constant, but this time, Emma would decide how to respond. Everything was shifting beneath her feet, and she couldn't look away. Will I be bold enough? She thought, heart pounding, as her eyes flicked between Sophia and James. The choice was looming, and with it came the chance to explore her true essence. Her resolve would soon be tested. The air was electric with possibilities as Emma stood between the two figures who represented diverging paths in her life. She could feel the weight of the choice pressing down on her chest, a reminder of the constraints she'd imposed on herself. The allure of exploration beckoned, but self-doubt tangled with her desire for growth. Limits, she repeated to herself, her inner voice echoing Sophia's question. What were her true limits? That thought ignited another. Was it possible they were self-imposed? This idea began unraveling as she sized up Sophia anew. The woman radiated confidence, as if stepping into a world of her own design was second nature. Emma's gaze shifted to James, his expression a mix of expectation and concern. He was the anchor of her current reality, yet the very embodiment of the risks she feared. She felt a surge of frustration toward her own listlessness. She couldn't keep standing still while life passed in blurs. Maybe it's time I pushed myself, she whispered quietly, half to herself, half to the universe. The dawning realization that she wanted to be the architect of her own story unfolded like a poorly drawn map now suddenly vibrant with color. I'll take that coffee too, she said, surprising both herself and Sophia. And maybe we could have a chat after this about serendipity? I think I could use some wisdom after all. Sophia's eyes sparkled, as if she loved the prospect of a collaboration, an exchange of ideas rather than merely an act of service. Absolutely. I'm here for all the coffee and conversation you can handle. As Emma poured the steaming liquid, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Thoughts about travel and the allure of new experiences churned within her. Why should she remain confined to the stories she'd lived thus far? Now was the time to draft greater narratives, perhaps explore places she'd only skimmed through in travel brochures. You ever feel stuck? She blurted out to Sophia as she returned to the table. God, yes, Sophia replied, her fingers curled around the warm cup. But I learned that feeling is often a choice to remain in familiarity. Want more? You've got to claim it. Otherwise, you'll just get stuck. Grab hold of desire like it's a lifebuoy. Learn to float or swim. Emma tucked those words into her mind, attempting to absorb their weight. What would her own lifebuoy look like? What desires lay dormant beneath her mundane responsibilities? Just then, a customer called for her attention, snapping her back into the diner's reality. As she moved away, she caught James looking contemplatively from his seat. Would he support her pursuing this inner transformation? When she returned, she saw Sophia gazing at her, an undeniable challenge shimmering in those blue depths. You know, Sophia began carefully, it sounds to me like you're ready for something big. Maybe you just need an idea to kick that door wide open. What do you mean? What if I told you that every small choice you make like this moment can lead to a life-altering adventure? Even a single, bold leap can shatter the glass ceiling you've built, she replied, and there was a fierceness behind her words that ignited something within Emma. The implication sank in. What if she began with something manageable? Like reaching out with ambition to new goals or interests she rarely explored? The thought was intoxicating. How about a job abroad? Sophia suggested suddenly, a grin illuminating her face. It could be the push you need. Emma swallowed hard. That was her lifebuoy, her lifeline into the unknown. Where do I sign up? Emma found herself almost breathless with excitement creeping into her voice. Sophia leaned in closer. But remember, once you float, you can't just stop. Courage requires commitment. Be ready to tackle what comes after. Emma's heart raced again, the thrill mingling with the anxiety of the commitment she was contemplating. I definitely want to be able to do it alone, she admitted, glancing back at James, who was leaning in, listening intently. Then let Sophia help guide you, he encouraged, while Sophia nodded emphatically. In that moment, the realization dawned she didn't have to navigate this transformative journey by herself. They could accompany her into the unknown, even if just for the first step. With determination swelling in her chest, Emma squeezed her eyes shut for a fleeting second. Could embarking on an adventure like this anchor her identity? The decision to embrace new possibilities felt electric, yet tinged with hesitation. Suddenly, the bell above the diner door rang again, announcing another arrival. Emma turned her head, catching only a quick glimpse of an imposing figure cloaked in shadows. Behind them, she sensed more change. Today was still unfolding, and the uncertainty of the future prickled at her skin. "Shall we?" Sophia urged, breaking her reverie. Emma took a steadying breath. "Yes, let us do it." As the new arrival stepped further into the diner, she felt as though the rhythm of her life aligned with a pulse that called her forward. What awaited her in the next chapter of her narrative? Emma couldn't help but wonder. The new arrival, a tall figure wrapped in dark clothing, moved with an air of purpose. Emma felt an inexplicable pull toward this person, a curiosity that diverted her from the immediate intensity brewing around her decision to seek a job abroad. Sophia leaned closer, her voice a conspiratorial whisper. "Do you feel that? It's as if the universe is delivering a message. You're on the brink of something important." Emma nodded absently, still focused on the newcomer. The figure approached the counter, and there was a magnetic quality about them that made her want to lean in, to hear every word. As she refocused on her surroundings, the diner resumed its normal rhythm, and Emma found herself swept up in conversation with Sophia and James again. Yet, the earlier thrill of potential faded into routine banter. Doubt began to creep back in, clenching her insides. Could she really make the leap? "I can't believe I'm entertaining the idea of moving abroad," she confessed to Sophia. "What if I'm not cut out for it?" Sophia regarded her with steady eyes. "Remember, this is not just about where you go, but who you become along the way. You have to step out of that comfort zone." Comfort zone. The term pinged in Emma's mind, a reminder of her safety net that had become a cumbersome trap. She'd spent years crafting her existence within its bounds, but now the prospect of exploration painted her world in brighter hues. "Let us brainstorm," James suggested, patting the table with eager enthusiasm. "What's holding you back right now?" Emma hesitated, grappling with the honesty needed to answer that question. "It's my fear of failure, I guess. What if I make a wrong move?" "Then you explore what went wrong and learn," Sophia interjected lightly. "Feelings of failure don't define your entire journey. They're just parts of it." That insight felt pivotal to Emma. It hadn't occurred to her that clinging so tightly to the fear of failure was limiting not just her choices, but her growth. Life was a series of iterations, not a single performance. Everyone stumbled along the way. Sophia's words echoed in her mind, "Grab hold of desire like it's a lifebuoy." What desires had been tucked away? Emma glanced out the window, and through the glass, she felt as if the world outside was calling her name, murmuring possibilities. Yet her gaze flickered back to the newcomer, who had reached the counter and was now leaving a note, along with what appeared to be a flight ticket. Emma's heart raced at the idea of impulsive action. Wasn't this what it meant to float or swim? Suddenly driven by an instinct she couldn't name, she turned back to Sophia. "Maybe I need to make something tangible, like take a leap now instead of just talking about it." "Start small," James advised, smiling. "Every leap follows a practice jump." "What's your first step?" Emma felt the stirrings of excitement. In her mind, the options began to crystallize. Afternoon workshops? Online courses for skills she'd always wanted to explore? Each idea bloomed like vivid colors on a once gloomy palette. "Connection networking," she said aloud, clarity burgeoning. "I could reach out to a former colleague overseas. Just to find out about opportunities there." "That's the spirit." Sophia beamed. "You have support here, Emma. Who knows? It might lead to something unexpected." Just as she began plotting her first email, Emma was pulled back into the moment as the mysterious figure re-entered. Their eyes met, and the stranger glanced pointedly at Emma, raising an eyebrow as if assessing whether she was ready to embrace the unknown. The moment was electric, threading through her veins, igniting adrenaline. Emma turned back to Sophia, her voice barely above a whisper, laden with urgency. What if that essay sign? What if I really am meant for something outside of this little world? Sophia nodded, affirming the connection Emma felt. Things are about to unfold, and you need to be prepared. Seize it. Taking a deep breath, Emma felt a surge of determination. This was no longer about simply considering options, it was a commitment to her evolution and to the path before her. Excuse me, Emma interjected, rising from her seat. Do you mind if I ask you a question? The imposing figure in the shadows turned, curiosity now etched in their expression. The atmosphere thickened with uncertainty, but Emma's resolve surged higher. What lay beyond this interaction? Could it lead her closer to the life she yearned for? As the stranger studied her, Emma could feel the weight of her choices, the paths trailing before her vibrating with potential. The moment of truth lingered tantalizingly in the air. What would she learn? Would she rise or fall? The stranger smiled enigmatically, and that fleeting moment ignited a spark of adventure deep within her. What awaited Emma on this journey was yet to be revealed. The stranger regarded Emma with an intensity that rattled her thoughts, leaving little room for self-doubt. It was now or never. The weight of her unclaimed ambitions loomed larger as she stood there, her heart thrumming in her chest. Hi, she stammered, surprised at the tremor in her voice. I noticed you just added something to the counter. Are you leaving? I am, the figure replied, their voice smooth and melodic, yet carrying a hint of mischief. And I might be taking a piece of the world with me. There was a pause before they added, you seem like someone who could use a change of scenery. Emma swallowed hard, curiosity battling trepidation. I'm actually considering moving abroad, but I'm not sure where to start. Bravery starts with a single step, they said, eyes gleaming knowingly. It's all about the willingness to jump. What's holding you back? The question seared through her hesitations. Fear of failure, I suppose, she admitted, the honesty surprising her. I've built this safe little world, and, her voice trailed off, tangled in her insecurities. Safety can be a cage, they responded, tilting their heads slightly, as if weighing the truth of her admission. What if failure isn't the end, but a beginning? Each stumble teaches us something profound about ourselves. Emma felt the tension snap around her. What do you know about it? The stranger chuckled lightly. I've stumbled enough. I've learned to pivot quickly and embrace discomfort as a guidepost. Yes, but how do you go from that fear to action? Emma implored, desperation creeping into her tone. I know I need to reach out and connect, yet everything feels paralyzing. Start with honesty, they suggested. What do you genuinely want? What is your true desire? There was warmth in their voice as if guiding Emma through foggy waters toward clarity. I've always wanted to write, she murmured, a forgotten dream bubbling to the surface. But it feels so distant and foolish. Foolish? Or revolutionary? Their gaze penetrated her defenses. Right. Share your insights, your talents, your truths, the world needs them. And open avenues will follow. Emma's mind raced. A craving for expression mingled with a longing for validation, but could she really harness her voice like that? Good ideas often face scrutiny before they're seen as brilliant. Trust your instincts, develop your skills, and let your voice be heard, the stranger continued, their tone both encouraging and firm. Nerves rolled in her stomach, igniting a resolve she hadn't felt before. I think I should reach out to that colleague. I have a draft of some of my ideas. Maybe I can get feedback. Then do it. Take that draft, polish it, and don't be afraid to share. Seeking feedback isn't a failure, it's a step forward. Emma recognized the gravity in that moment. This was more than idle chatter, this was her potential inching closer to reality. "And what would you do if you were in my shoes?" she challenged, the urge for deeper connection throbbing beneath her skin. "Use the desire that pulls you, let it be your compass. And remember, while you may falter, experience is the best teacher. This life, this very moment is the true canvas." With that, the stranger's enigmatic smile sparkled under the diner's fluorescent lights, sending a surge of determination coursing through Emma's veins. Contact felt imminent, almost palpable. "Thank you," she managed, feeling emboldened despite the gulf of uncertainty that lay ahead. "You've ignited something in me. Then let that fire guide your next leap. The ticket and note I left are merely symbols, the real journey is yours to forge." With a gentle nod, they stepped past her, their presence slipping away like an echo, leaving behind a whirlwind of possibility. Emma wondered if this was just the beginning of a transformation. An opportunity slid into view, brimming with potency and promise. Would she reach out? As she deftly pulled out her phone, her fingers moved, spurred by newfound momentum. The path to growth was filling with potential, yet part of her was anxious about what awaited beyond the threshold of her comfort zone. Before she could tap send, she glanced back toward the door, hoping for another glimpse of the figure. Yet, all that remained was the fading sound of the diner's bustling environment. Could this be the stirrings of a change she never expected? What if, just maybe, the next leap was lurking right around the corner, waiting for her to muster the courage to chase it? Emma sat in the diner's booth, her mind racing with possibilities. The half-finished coffee cup sat cold and forgotten, but the stranger's words echoed in her mind. Bravery starts with a single step. Her fingers hovered over her phone's screen, the send button representing more than a mere act. It was the threshold and entry into a new version of herself she had long neglected. With a deep breath, she began typing. Should she share her writing aspirations with her colleague? The prospect of exposure flickered between excitement and terror. Would they find her ideas foolish? But what if, in doing so, she unearthed the spark of connection she craved? She quickly typed out a straightforward message, asking for feedback on her draft. As soon as she pressed send, an unexpected thrill shot through her, accompanied by a wave of uncertainty. Taking that initial step had propelled her into unfamiliar territory. She found herself contemplating the implications of embracing vulnerability. How would she handle criticism? Would it stifle her voice or help it flourish? The thought of truly writing became intertwined with her sense of identity. Years had slipped by, marked by mundane routines, but in this moment, she envisioned a series of open doors. She imagined attending workshops, connecting with fellow writers, crafting stories that could resonate. Perhaps shifting to a new city, immersion in a vibrant culture would hone her skills and broaden her perspective. It was an exhilarating idea, yet her internal voice coiled with familiar disdain. People had laughed at her dreams before, dismissed her talent as a phase or pure fantasy. But resistance to criticism was a choice she could reclaim. The stranger's reminder that good ideas often faced scrutiny resounded, and she vowed to take it to heart. Suddenly, a message pinged her colleague had responded. The words streamed in, supportive and encouraging. They expressed excitement at her initiative and offered a time to discuss her draft. Each word swelled within her, a welcome balm disruptively dissolved her doubts. Emma couldn't help but smile, a warmth spreading through her chest. For the first time in years, she felt a rush of affirmation, reaffirming her pursuit. Her resolve solidified. This was a pivot, a defining moment in which she would actively shape her destiny. As she sipped her now warm coffee, she contemplated logistical steps, the timelines for feedback, potential workshops, and the daunting task of drafting more pieces. All intertwined with the idea of a life abroad, a move far away from familiar faces and places. Emma sensed it would take immense courage to pack up her life, but the want for growth pulsed like a heartbeat. Then a flicker of doubt crept in, urging her to linger in her comfort zone. What if she failed? What if the act of sharing her words only revealed her limits? Pushing that thought aside, she recognized it as part of the process. Each setback would undoubtedly be a learning experience, not just a failure. She glanced out of the diner's window, the world beyond bustling yet inviting. Faces flowed by, individuals rushing to their own destinations, all on their respective journeys of discovery. Maybe embarking on her own journey would not only define her but might also contribute something meaningful to those around her. In the midst of this turbulent sea of emotions, Emma found herself at peace with her evolving narrative. She thought of the stranger. Their parting words felt like a soft wind, nudging her toward growth. The moment crystallized into clarity. She must share her voice, even if her knees shook and her stomach knotted with fear. Just then, her phone buzzed. A notification glowed on the screen. An invitation to submit work to a local writing contest flashed before her eyes. Time to leap, the familiar thrill of fear morphing into anticipation. Why wait? The road was wide open, and while she couldn't control every obstacle, she had the agency to choose how she would face them. Taking a deep breath, a sense of determination surged inside her. In the next moment, she began jotting down ideas for the contest, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with renewed energy, but just as she settled into her task, a sudden pang of recognition jolted her. Could she dare to expose her dreams on a page for others to judge? And what if that act of bravery transformed not just her life but also the way she perceived her own creativity? The thought hung in the air like a question filled with promise. What discoveries awaited her if she embraced every part of this journey? With growing urgency, Emma's determination propelled her forward into her unfolding adventure. What she didn't yet know was who might challenge her next, and if that challenge would push her to confront deeper fears entangled in her identity as a writer. Emma felt her heart race as she stared at the blinking cursor on her laptop screen. Words swirled in her mind, but confronting blankness often felt like facing a wall. Inspiration had always come and gone, but now, it was both a necessity and a suspicion. Could she genuinely create something worthy enough to share? Taking another breath, she closed her eyes for a moment, imagining the contest submission's potential. What if this was her chance to showcase a piece of her soul? The enormity of her aspirations loomed before her, a mountain she instinctively wanted to climb. Yet, doubt lingered like a dark cloud on the periphery. Her phone buzzed again, more messages of encouragement from her colleague. An offer to meet in a nearby cafe. The urgency to refine her thoughts, to speak about her dreams with someone else, summoned a deep-seated anxiety mixed with excitement. Emma hesitated before sending a quick acknowledgement. One meeting wouldn't dictate her success, but it could ignite a fire within her, an external confirmation of her internal work. A small voice inside whispered that she needed this, needed to surround herself with individuals who valued creativity as much as she did. She decided, then and there, to use their meeting as a focal point, her deadline to solidify an idea for the contest. The day passed in a blur. Emma attended to customers with a robotic efficiency, but inside her, thoughts churned. As she poured coffee and served plates, she thought of her narratives, the characters begging for life on the page. Each customer carried a story: the elderly couple sharing a laugh, the solitary man absorbed in a book. She realized these fleeting interactions were also a wealth of inspiration waiting to be tapped. By the time she clocked out, her mind was buzzing with possibilities. All those snippets of life, each mundane moment, had transformed into potential material for her writing. She could weave tales that connected the threads of solitude, love, and ambition. As she walked to the cafe, her senses sharpened, each sight and sound enriched her perspective. As she settled into her chair across from her colleague, she felt butterflies fluttering in her stomach, excitement and terror wrapped in one. The meeting began casually, discussing work and daily routines, but soon shifted to Emma's aspirations. Mustering her courage, she spoke about her draft for the contest, and her words flowed faster than anticipated. Her colleague listened intently, nodding, and Emma felt her pulse quicken. Each encouraging note propelled her further, and a pivotal moment crystallized within her. What if sharing her vulnerabilities could lead to deeper understanding, both of herself and others? But then another thought intruded: what if the feedback was critical? She forced herself to breathe. This was a process of discovery, after all, and every critique would simply serve to strengthen her voice. By the end of their talk, her colleague had shared surprisingly honest insights that helped reshape her initial ideas. They proposed another meetup for brainstorming, an offer Emma readily accepted, an opportunity, a gateway. Once again, the thought of moving forward felt not just feasible, but exhilarating. As she left the cafe, her heart brimmed with hope. Now, it wasn't just about writing for a contest. It was about birthing a world she felt anxious to explore. The open road of creativity lay ahead, filled with unforeseen challenges but equally promising revelations. Back at the diner, stars shimmered in the darkening sky, and Emma appreciated the fleeting beauty of those moments. She recognized that growth often came as a product of vulnerability, mingled with fear. The vital question now pressed against her conscious mind: how would she continue to confront potential rejection, even as she progressed? Pulling out her notepad, she began jotting down new ideas for her entry, feeling her fingers dance across the pages with that familiar surge of inspiration. But deep within her, a nagging curiosity arose: what truths might emerge if she allowed herself to delve into the darkness of her doubts? What revelations awaited if she fully confronted those fears, and how might they shape the narrative she was beginning to craft? That question hummed quietly as she wrote, hinting at deeper explorations just waiting to unfold. Emma stood at the diner counter, her heart thrumming with a rhythm that matched the ding of the bell above the door. Today marked a change, a significant turning point. She gazed at the view outside, the bustling street alive with energy, a stark contrast to the confines of her former existence. Embracing the possibilities propelling her forward, she felt grounded in a newfound resolve. The weight of the ticket to Paris lingered in her pocket, a tangible reminder that her life could diverge from familiar paths. No longer bound solely by responsibility, she had expanded her horizons. She embraced the lessons learned from daring conversations with James and the enigmatic stranger, igniting growth that had remained dormant for too long. Returning to her tasks, Emma felt the pulse of the diner around her, yet it was different now. Each plate served was no longer just an obligation but a step toward her dreams. Her confidence held a steady presence, bolstered by her commitment to deepen her writing processes, particularly after that pivotal cafe meeting with her colleague. Ironically, it set the stage for a revelation she hadn't anticipated. She no longer sought others' validation, she craved authenticity. As she poured a fresh cup of coffee, she recalled the ideas swirling in her mind. A narrative formed, encapsulating her journey of vulnerability and ambition. She could share not just tales of strangers but her own, a voice that condensed her experiences into impactful reflections. Around lunchtime, when the diner buzzed with energy, she felt her courage ignite. An empowering idea took hold: why not write a piece inspired by her journey, capturing the essence of overcoming fear, facing doubts, and embracing change? Each story she encountered could transform into fuel for her creativity. The elderly couple by the window, whose laughter echoed warmth, and even the solitary man buried in a book, all could find their way into her words. The thought set her heart racing. Emma settled in for her break, pulling out her notebook and allowing the words to flow, resurrecting fragments from her life. As she crafted her piece, she felt freeing waves wash over her. Wouldn't the culmination of her growth also resonate with others? Each written phrase empowered her, transforming anxieties into eloquence. Later that day, she made her way to the secluded booth. James sat there, a familiar friend who had unexpectedly expanded her outlook. She needed to share her growth with him. They sparked something vivid in each other, a connection that legitimized their evolving dreams. "Can I share something?" Emma asked tentatively as she joined him, a blend of eagerness and trepidation roiling beneath the surface. "Of course, what's on your mind?" His attentive gaze sparked a warmth within her. "I've been writing," she admitted, and a shy smile escaped her lips. "Actually, I've decided to take it seriously. I want to craft a reflection on overcoming fear, my own journey, and how understanding desires shapes our choices." James's smile broadened, clearly impressed. That's tremendous. You've made a significant leap from where we first met at the diner. I can see this excitement in you. Emma let the compliment wash over her, an affirmation of her resolve. I even reached out for feedback and got positive responses, she said, a proud grin spreading across her face. That's fantastic. You're actively engaging with your ambitions, he stated, his admiration palpable. Are you planning to share it widely? That's where I find myself frightened again, Emma confessed. What if it doesn't land? What if it's dismissed? Then you write again. His words resonated deeply. Every piece is a stepping stone, there's no failure in honing your craft. It's all progression. Don't box yourself in with expectations, embrace it as a constantly unfolding journey. Their conversation flowed fluidly, his insight infused confidence in her narrative. With every exchanged word, Emma could feel her previously fraught ambitions settle into something tangible. She had decided to attend a writing workshop. Soon a leap into community, connection, and expanded viewpoints. As she rose to refill a coffee cup, Emma felt the once heavy burden of obligation lift. Where the fear had stifled her, a spirit of adventure now took its place. The diner hummed with energy, familiar faces filling the seats, but Emma was on the edge of something extraordinary. The diner that had once seemed confining now felt like the launching pad for her ambitions, a reminder of how far she'd grown. She glanced at the ticket in her pocket, but that wasn't just a passport to Paris. It was a symbol of her journey, one she was ready to embrace wholeheartedly. James caught her gaze, and it felt as if they were two travelers at the brink of a vast landscape filled with unknown treasures waiting to be uncovered. They understood their futures were unwritten. Then Emma's eyes sparkled, a new determination firmly rooted in her core. Let us not stop here. I'll explore worlds beyond my comfort. I'll write and share, I'll push back against the familiar till it yields new paths of discovery. Embracing the possibilities before her, Emma took a deep breath, ready to stride boldly ahead. To all explorers of your own narratives, this is the moment to take that leap, to embrace unfamiliarity, and share your voice. So, subscribers, stay tuned for the next heartwarming journeys. You need to subscribe now to not miss future inspiring stories that could change your life. Leave a like now to propel us forward. You're the wind beneath our wings. We want to hear from you. Comment below with your reactions and theories on Emma's transformation. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who could use that extra push to embrace their own adventures.